Jeremy Piven, what's a nice guy like you doing on a show like this?
It's hard to say, man, but you made me earn it, so I appreciate it.
The reason we're talking is you're doing stand-up. You're going to do a stand-up tonight, as we record this. It's going to be tonight at San Juan Capistrano at the Coach House. Now, everybody already knows you from your acting credits. I mean, obviously, Ari Gold from Entourage, and Mr. Selfridge, and you have to get tired of people trying to cover all your IMDb stuff, right?
Never tired of it. Never. I really, really love talking about myself. It's what I do best.
Why do you want to do all the hard stuff? Why do you acting is hard. Were you a prodigy? I mean, honestly, were you a prodigy? I mean, the athletes, sometimes they're known as prodigies. Were you something, when you were doing it, and I'm sure you get tired of guys going up, hey, I was in my high school play. I was Charlie Brown, and you're a good man, Charlie Brown. So I know what it's like.
I grew up in an acting family. From the time I was 8 years old, I studied with my parents because they had an acting school and the theater, and it was just all very natural to me. So I guess not unlike a pro athlete, I started it at about 8 years old. The only difference is I get to still play, and that's I really am grateful for that. I really am. Because I still get to work hard and get better. And stand up to me is this fascinating, beautiful puzzle where, even though I've spent half a century on stage, getting up, I'll never forget the first time I got up at the Laugh Factory, which I'll actually be at this weekend on Friday and Saturday night, the Laugh Factory in West Covina. I do a lot of very organic segues. Stay with me, Gary. It's all good.
I'm in.
Listen, you take it easy. This. I got it from here.
Listen, I am here to support you. I am off camera giving you the facial reactions you need
your
to
best
do your
work
thing.
Off camera.
Absolutely. So you were saying about how much the first shows when you got up on stage.
Yeah, even though you might be fun with your friends, and I've improvised my whole life, and I'm a comedic actor and written and rewritten stuff and pitched it, standing up there at the Laugh Factory, the stage is smaller. And so you feel kind of hemmed in, and it's terrifying because you can't escape. And so that really inspired me to grind. And so I've been doing about 250 shows a year, 5 to 8 shows a week. And just, figuring out, it's one of those things, the harder you work, the easier it looks. And so that's where I'm at now. When people come to the Coach House tonight, it's an intimate, 480 seat, room, and everyone, we need a laugh right now. Everything is, people are frustrated, and let me make sense of things and make you laugh. And, I tell stories, go into impressions, observational stuff. I'm all over the place.
I love it. I got to deep dive on you, and what I love about it, especially when you go on stage, it's the presentation, right? What makes Chappelle great? What made Jerry Seinfeld great? What made George Carlin great? The words were something, but it's the way they said them. And it's like watching you on Entourage. You give those lines to anybody else, and they're wonderful lines. It's a well-written show. But it was your genius that found the way to say it that made it memorable. Is that the same feeling you take on stage?
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Acting is a momentum sport, and it's one of those things where there is an Ari Gold. His name is Ari Emanuel. He represents Mark Wahlberg. The show is loosely or very tightly based on, I should say, very, very tight. And so, Ari Emanuel is a great. I was just, he was my agent. So who knew that I was being a dramaturg that entire time? And he's, great at what he does and filled with dualities and got a big heart and is, over the top sometimes and full of energy and abrasive and all those things and great at what he does. And a lot of dualities in that character that I found. And once you do the work and you dig in and then you go to set, it's time to play. So and if you haven't done the work, then it's not time to play. You're in hell. So, if you own the words and because they were going word for word with Entourage. I had to say every single word, and if I didn't, I had to go again. It was kind of like my bar mitzvah, like literally reading out of the Torah. So basically, the Entourage script was my Torah. And so, yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And on stage, I enter into that character. I enter into a bunch of different characters, so you get a sense of who I am selfishly, and I love that opportunity. And I just feel like, all roads lead to stand up for me because, I've studied it all. I've studied overseas, at conservatories, Shakespeare, NYU, blah, 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 my whole life. And so along with the improv and the comedy and the writing and loving to do it, I feel like I'm equipped to have a great time, use the space, and really entertain people for an hour. But I'm exhausted afterwards. It's not like I get up there and sit on the stool, and just kind of, I'm not that type of a stand-up.
I've always wanted to ask this especially because you've had a lot of success on screen and doing stand up, but you've also done a lot of plays. I've always wanted to ask you this: what is life like for you when you finish the show on Broadway? I'm not talking the last night. I'm just talking about the Thursday night performance. Right? You're done. Now what? What do you go home? You're able to go straight to bed? Do you read? Do you do crossword puzzles? Do you just go scroll TikTok? What do you do?
Well, for me, it's I get very physical. So that in itself, it I'm exhausted afterwards. I think there's some people maybe, if it's all cerebral, they're probably spinning out. But with me, I need to come down. I just need to just kind of, and people say to me all the time when they do meet and greets afterwards, they say, "You were a lot funnier on stage." And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. You don't want to be funnier in the meet and greet, and have them say, "Why weren't you doing that on stage?" So yeah, I'm pretty exhausted, and people are like, they're confused why I'm not still, it's like, no, I've already performed, and now we can just speak, and have a moment together afterwards.
Well, and it's just it is so hard. I mean, and it's learning how to do that. I mean, what's the best part of making a movie? I mean, I can understand what the worst part is, the waiting and the interminable this and set up the thing. In your mind, because I can imagine that stand up is the fact that you get immediate reaction. Good or bad, you still get that immediate reaction. Well, when it comes to like a movie, what's the best part of making a movie?
When everything comes together, behind me, you'll see Harold Made Live. That's a character that I played in a movie that are coming out called The Performance that I've been putting together for 14 years. That's an adaptation of an Arthur Miller short story out of the New Yorker. And that was the best experience I've ever had on film. And it's the feeling that everything is working, great script, playing opposite Robert Carlyle, one of the best actors on the planet. He's playing a Nazi. I'm a Jewish tap dancer in 1937. And just having everything come together so that you're present and it's just all working beyond even how you even dreamt it would be. And being present for that, putting yourself in that position, if I can't play it for real when he's wearing a real Nazi uniform. And if I can't commit to the givens of the scene, and I can't tell you too much, I don't want to ruin the film. But having it all come together and work so beautifully and hit emotions that you knew were there and they were uncovered and you didn't have to reach for them and everything comes together. And then the feeling that you've documented something, special. I know it sounds very cheesy, but that's what this film was. It was definitely the best work I've ever done. We've been lucky enough, Variety and Film Thread and those who have reviewed it so far, it's the best reviews of my life, and it's the best work of my life.
Well, yeah, you and I can argue because I haven't seen the movie yet, and it's going to be hard to top Old School. But I do
I think you might say that after you see this, because you'll say, I didn't know you had that in you.
Well, and I've studied about that film. I've studied about the performer. I love the fact that it's 14 years old. It took 14 years to make it, and people kept telling you no. And it is about tap dancing. Now, let me ask you this. 14 years ago, could you tap dance?
No, I couldn't tap. I couldn't dance. I couldn't. I've been a drummer my whole life. So I understand rhythmically. If you tell me what the taps sound like, I know how to stick the landing. But I started studying with Jared Grimes, who was our choreographer, and he's in the film and he's brilliant. And he was my tap teacher. And I started with him 15 years ago. And, it took that long to look like a professional tap dancer. So here we go. So tap dancing and stand-up comedy. I'm choosing very easy lanes right now. I'm just trying to coast.
That's why I keep asking you. At some point, when do you sit back and go, yeah, I'm good for a while. I think I'm just gonna, I'm gonna sit over here. I'm gonna find a beach somewhere.
Basically, what you're saying is, when are you going to end this horrible charade? That's what you're saying.
No. I want to find out, I want to go, hey, I'm good, y'all. I got this body of work. I'm just going to go over here and sit around and eat Cheetos. That's what I'm going to do. Not that you're doing a charade. It's just that you are continuing to work hard.
That's a great question. And I think that's a great question. I think with the performance, I feel like I've done something and I've achieved something that I've never done and that I thought I had in me, and I actually do. So there's an immense sense of pride. Unfortunately, it's incredibly timely right now with the rise of anti-Semitism, and so this is going to inspire some uncomfortable conversations, maybe with people. But it's really ultimately about coming to terms with who you are in this life. And it's heavy. It's a heavy film. And how much of yourself will you compromise to become successful? So it's themes that we all can identify with.
I'm a big believer in we need as many history lessons as we can get, because the farther it goes away. My father fought in World War II, right? And it becomes something unreal. And we start banding these names around, and we don't give them the levity and the gravitas that they should have of what it really means. Because we just go, oh, let's just call you this name, and not really thinking about, no, you're so far removed from it, you don't know what it really means.
Yeah, and it would be great if we all knew what it means and we knew our history, and we could be decent to each other, and just the idea that I, talk about divine timing. I guess I wasn't supposed to release this film until now, until it really matters, and my God, when you have something to say, there are some obstacles. And I would like God to clear some of these obstacles. It's time to. I've experienced the obstacles. It's time for something different.
You need to write that bit.
That's your next bit.
You need to write that bit.
Smooth sailing now.
You need to write that bit. That's a great bit.
I'm still looking for. I'm looking for the easy button.
Yeah. Hey God, I got all the character I need. I got all the character I need. I have built that character, baby. You know what I need? I need some just. Yeah, I need some. Let's pour the syrup out the glass. That's all I need.
Absolutely. Count me in for all that.
I want to tell you why I am all in on Bison Junk. First and foremost, they are a full-service, eco-friendly junk removal company, but with this difference. They focus on recycling and donating usable goods. Their customer service sets them apart, and they pride themselves on their integrity. They'll show up when they say they will, and they'll do what they promise. If you have hard-to-remove items like hot tubs or large furniture, they figure it out so you don't have to. They want to be who you always come back to when it's time to declutter and organize your home or business. They're worth every penny at bisonjunk.com. Sterling Oak Cabinetry has one goal: to build the cabinets of your dreams. They literally specialize in custom cabinetry. No cookie cutter, everything looks the same stuff that you find at the big box stores. Your kitchen is the centerpiece of your home, and your home is your biggest investment. They can work with you or your designer to build just what you want with the materials and finish that you want. And because they're a brand new company, they'll be getting busier and busier, but if you order right now, they'll get your order to you in 6 to 8 weeks. In the world of cabinetry, that's blindingly fast. Contact Rob Scovman at RSKOVMAND@yahoo.com or go to sterlingoakcabinetry.com and get your dreams made reality tomorrow.
Is it hard? I can see the answer to both sides, but I just want to get your take. I mean, you're unlike a lot of comedians, is that you go up and they know who you are, right? I mean, it's like I went to a comedy show with TJ Miller a couple of weeks ago, and the first couple of guys, nobody knew who they were. So they had to work to get the audience. One guy found them, one guy didn't. Well, TJ, it was different because they walked out and they knew who he was. How about you? I mean, because they come with that expectation. What kind of pressure is that for you?
I don't, to be totally honest with you, I don't think about that. Pressure is, what is that old saying? It's a gift. Pressure is a gift. I love pressure. I thrive on it. Whatever your expectations or baggage you have with me, bring it all into the theater. Cause it's my job to step up and no matter where you're coming from, love me or hate me. Chappelle told me, if you can't be funny, at least be interesting, so let's go. I love all that. I remember my first show on the road, the club owner said, "Are you okay with the audience being disappointed?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay with that." He goes, "Well, you've been pretty great as an actor, and there's no way you're going to match those expectations out there." And I just remember going, "Wow, that's an interesting take." And I was really, even then I was, I wasn't a great stand-up, but I was ready for the moment. I was prepared. And so, I don't let that stuff bother me, man, because what I'm doing out there is stand up, and it's different, and I'm all over the place, and long form stories and impressions and observational stuff, and topical stuff. So, and then, right there with the audience in case something comes up. So I feel ready for the moment, and they can feel that. They can feel that. They can feel that you're ready. And he actually, to that guy's credit, he said to me, because he assumed that I wasn't going to do well. And he did say some really nice things to me afterwards. He goes, "That was weird." I said, "What?" He goes, "They couldn't get to you because you don't have any chinks in your armor," he said. I was like, "Okay. All right. Okay." So listen, I last night I got up and Kevin Nealon was on before me, and he's been doing it for, 30, 40 years, whatever he's been doing. And it was just amazing to watch him do his set and learn from him. I'm promoting, we're in the award circuit right now. We just did Deadline Contenders with the performance, and we're doing all these kind of screenings for the Academy and Golden Globes and all the different, award season stuff. And I ran into Jerry Seinfeld, and I asked him about how he's just a master in every sense, but also with crowd work. There's almost no one better. And I just asked him about that, and I just sat back, and he just gave me a master class in how you do it. And I'm very lucky because I think they see me and they go, okay, I know that Jeremy's taking this seriously. I respect him as an actor. Let me tell him what he wants to hear. And I get to be 3 inches away from Jerry Seinfeld telling me how he does crowd work. And so I've been very, very lucky. So I feel like I've been, studying from the best.
I love that answer. I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to play it. I'm going to make that a drop. I welcome the pressure and your expectations of me. I love that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Well, I mean, when you've been doing it for a while, you realize that nerves and fear is an energy. It's palpable, and you can either let it, handcuff you, or you can use it to propel you. And it's your choice. And it's all how you label it. It's like you can immediately feel and go, "Oh man, I'm doomed. I'm not worthy. Who do I think I am? Man, and then it's a wrap." Or you feel that energy and you breathe and you go, "Oh, okay, I felt this before. I know how this goes. Good to see you, old friend." And you breathe through it, and then you just get out there and do your thing.
I love the podcast. I really enjoyed. I listened yesterday to the one with Jim McMahon, and that was fun. Did you get? Because you mentioned you've met a lot of sports stars. I mean, that's especially because I think they were drawn to you because of Ari Gold. And do you get nervous when you meet sports stars? And if you don't, or if you do get nervous, who has made you nervous?
Mike Tyson made me a little nervous, just because Mike he wasn't on his meds. No, I'm just kidding.
He would scare me to death. He's a bit unpredictable. I'm just saying.
He is a little unpredictable. No, Mike is a fascinating character who's kind of like lived many lives, and he's in his Buddha stage of his life. And he's fascinating. But yeah, Mike, just because we all watched him, and he was a guy that through his training and dedication, that combination of that discipline with also tapping into the fact that was an absolute savage, and could unleash it properly. Youngest heavyweight champion, and we have all these memories of him. So that was pretty heavy. But with sports guys, I think, there's obviously an admiration, but there's also kind of a mutual admiration because they can see someone that's put the time in and in their field and whatnot. So that's kind of cool.
I think it's fun. I think it was fun. I was listening to the Jim McMahon episode. I got to spend some time with Jim, and anybody who spends more than 30 minutes with Jim McMahon comes away with a story or 10 stories. And it was fun to hear you and sharing those stories. So I know you haven't done an episode in a while, but still go find it. Look at the Jim McMahon episode. It is really, really fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So this has been fun. I have been so looking forward to this because I've always loved your work. I love Mr. Selfridge. And as much as Ari Gold was over the top, Ari, I loved how understated you played Harry Selfridge. I mean, and it would be so easy to get all Englished up, But what I loved about your portrayal is how you kept his Americanism, and it wasn't a fault, and it wasn't the character's strength. It was brown hair, right? It was who he was.
That particular guy was from the Midwest, and as am I.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close to home. But if you like Selfridge, and you and the other 11 people that watch PBS, and I thank every one of you, and I think I've met every one of you. Unfortunately,
I was last on the list. Hey.
Here's a funny story. So I was promoting because PBS, and I love them. they're incredible. I watch PBS myself, but they don't have any money for advertising because they're funded by the people. So I was, doing a Q&A for them, and Benedict Cumberbatch was there, you know, and he was, promoting his stuff on PBS, Sherlock Holmes, and they said, I left and he did his Q&A, and they said, Jeremy, go back out there because the reporter's going to ask you guys some questions. I go, cool. So the lights came up and all the reporters rushed and trampled over me to get to Benedict Cumberbatch. And I have to say, it was one of the worst, most humbling, awkward, strange moments of my life ever. I've never been trampled,
Well,
in my own country.
with a name like that, and you just need to get into a Marvel movie. Come on, you got to. We've got to find a Marvel character for you.
I would love it. I mean, you think that Downey would just take just a beat, just take a break, brother. Take a little break. I'm coming.
I'm just saying, they need a new Iron Man. He's coming back as Dr. Doom, right? So they need a new Iron Man.
Let's go.
I'm just saying. And
I have history with Jon Favreau.
Yeah, you do.
I love From PCU. I love me some Favreau. He's one of those guys who you knew early on. He just was someone who knew he's always been very laser focused and confident. A certain confidence you can look in some people's eyes and you just go, this guy's got something, and and sure enough, man, he's just been tearing it up.
How many people have you ever met like that? Can you think about it? I mean, you list Favreau. That's great. How many times have you met somebody and you went, man, that dude right there, or that girl, or whatever, that woman, that whoever?
Yeah, whenever that happens, they end up doing great things. I've seen it. I've seen it in people's looks, in people's eyes before. But life is a interesting twists and turns to it. Chris Farley had it, but he was wild. He was too wild for this life.
And you had
God
history with
rest his
Chris
soul.
Farley, right?
What's
I
that?
mean, you say you had history with him. You were in Second City with him.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was as wild as they come, and funny and original, and it's just a tragedy. It'd be so great to have him around.
Wouldn't it have been fun to see what he would have ended up doing if he could have just given himself permission to calm down and not feel like he had to be. And again, you knew him. I didn't. I just go from the supposition that I've seen in documentaries and movies and stuff. But you just felt like he had to be the life of the party.
I think so, and I think
no.
that takes its toll, obviously. And it taught me a lot of lessons about balance. That you have to have balance in this life, otherwise you'll burn out. But like his hero John Belushi, they both died at 33.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't the 33 and the 27 number crazy in Hollywood? You have so many people who, especially musicians, and for some reason, the whole 27, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison. You've heard that trope, and then
Absolutely.
There's the 33, and it's crazy. Is it when you were doing your podcast? Let me ask you this question: who were harder to talk to, musicians, actors, or athletes? Who are the ones that, and I shouldn't say harder to talk to, who's the ones you had to do the most research on?
Well, athletes, because they're so they've been media trained. I talk about this on stage, actually. But they've all been media trained to stay in their lane and be on their best behavior and watch it. So you have to really kind of open them up. Unless it's, Oscar De La Hoya, then it's like someone just gave him some truth serum and some mushrooms, and he's just having a field day. I mean, he was confessing. It was a confessional.
It was. Well, that's what I was asking them, because it's like, I know, listen, I do this. I do podcasts, and I know how much research goes into it. And I was sitting there going, when I was listening to your stuff, I'm like, when in the world is he finding time? Right? Because you're having to go through all of that stuff. And I'm like, kudos to you. And I know some of it was during the whole COVID thing and like that, but I still was impressed by the work that you've put into it. And I guess that's just who you are.
Well, for me, with all those people, I just interview people I'm curious about. So, the research is just my curiosity about them my whole life. And so that was fun just to research them and get after it.
I think it's fun, and I've had so much fun. Let me reiterate: it is going to be at the Coach House and San Juan Capistrano,
Yeah.
and then
Where is that?
You're going,
is that Laguna Beach?
No, that's where the Swallows are.
Okay.
Right? I mean, the infamous the mission that has all the swallows fly, the birds fly into San Juan Capistrano.
So someone come down to San Juan and meet me there, you guys. Show me where I'm going. Let's hang out afterwards. It's an intimate room. We're going to have a blast. And then come to the Laugh Factory in West Covina, Friday, Saturday night.
And for my brother-in-law, he's coming to Tulsa. Jay, you and Lindsay load up the whole gang and come over and see him. Because it's Jeremy flipping Piven. That's what that is.
Let's go. Thank you that was 30 minutes. Thank you.
How about that? We got time. We're timing. That's
I
all we do.
downloaded an app for you.
That may be the nicest thing somebody says to me today.
Well, then you got to up your game, because there's a lot nicer things that can be said to all of us.